Hello and good afternoon, good evening, and well, for us here on the East Coast, good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, folks. We have an outstanding show for you, and of course, it's going to be Xbox driven. Why? Well, we're going to open up with some Avowed talk. Now, you've heard me gush about this game, or as the kids like to call it, glazing, right? About Avowed, and you know what? Listen. It is what everyone is talking about. It has taken over the zeitgeist of the community. I will say this. I was literally just saying this to the guys in the green room, and it makes me smile from ear to ear because social media is easy to be a D, right? Like you can be an a-hole on social media. You can put like a C for your picture so no one knows who you are and just go crazy. Well, Avowed is so good, ladies and gentlemen. It is so much fun. People are having so many adventures that it has literally drowned out all of the community a-holes that you and I dislike. If you don't already have them blocked, that's fine, but they have no voice. I have started to see, though, and Fuzzy and I are going to talk about this on Monday, how many websites are like, why isn't the video out on the PS5? I understand. They're starting to write articles about that, which is really hilarious because I thought Xbox games were mid, ladies and gentlemen. I thought that they didn't make good games and that they were all 70s and no one cares about Xbox. And why would you buy an Xbox? Why would you buy an Xbox game? We're going to get into that on Monday, but we have a lot to cover here. Okay, so we're going to open up talking about Avowed. I just crossed the century mark, 100 hours in the game. I have not beaten it. I'm on my way to beat it now. I just found all of the treasure chests using the maps. There are 12 in total. I got the achievement for that. I just got the achievement maybe 10 minutes ago that I have officially gone into every cave in the game, which that is a crazy achievement, but I have done it. I did yesterday find all of the totem pieces, which that was a trek. There was 28 of them. I used a guide for I think about 6 of them. The rest I actually found on my own. So I'm starting to kind of sew up the achievements, and it's just been a blast. Second half of the show, folks, we have a 2-tiered conversation that's going to happen. Okay, so the first one comes the way, and it's the last topic of the Xbox era interview. And of course, our good friends over there, John, Special Nick, and Jesse did just an amazing job. I hope that interview gets 50,000 views if it doesn't already have that, because they did ask some really good questions. Phil did really spell out what they're doing. And there were band-aids have been ripped off. Doors have been kicked in. Towns have been invaded. He has already given us the idea of what's going to happen with them going third party. And there's not going to be any more secrets. There's not going to be any more misunderstandings or misdirections. At the end of every trailer, there's going to be logos for every platform that the game is going to be on. I think that's brilliant. I think that's what we've all been asking for, is the transparency. But in that interview, Phil Spencer specifically breaks down why single-player, story-driven content not only will continue for Xbox, but is leading the charge. Because again, if you think about their gas game situation, they're already winning, right? They have Minecraft, they have Call of Duty, they have all of these different games that have this microtransaction live service ideology. It's something that Sony tried to do, failed, and had to reset. Well, Xbox is now then taking and letting that make its money, right? They're putting games everywhere, more money. Game Pass is getting more subscribers, especially on PC. And now, because they have so many studios, they could, really laser focus on the single player content. And we've all been asking for that. But the second half of that conversation is going to be a new report from Satya Nadella during an interview where he confirms AAA development and how important it is not only to Xbox, but to Microsoft. We're going to get into that as well. But let's get everyone here introduced, and then we'll have our conversation. Silent Cypher, brother, what's going on? Congratulations on the new job. I know that because of it, you have not had a chance to play as much as of Avowed as you'd like, but you'll get around to it. And like me, you're not as old, but you will certainly, I would imagine, spend 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning episodes trying to catch up. How you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Hey, good morning, Boom. I'm doing great. Yeah, thank you. It's been a lot of change the last couple of weeks, so I've definitely not gotten as much gaming as I would like. I've been still playing Balatro like an addict because I can
But
play
it's
that
easy to
any
pick
and
up,
everywhere.
right? So it's
Yes.
it's so easy to pick up and put down, 15
Yep.
minutes, 20 minutes, and you feel satisfied because you're playing a game that you like, but
Yep.
it's so easy to get into. I have to get back to it. I did not like it originally, and people are
Oh
telling me that
man,
I'm crazy. So I'm gonna have to go try this again.
it's so good. It's easy to pick up, but there's unlimited complexity.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's my main thing. I'm getting my gaming IV drip in small doses for now, but it's great to be hanging out with you, gentlemen. Look forward to talking about all this stuff this morning.
Well, good to have you here, brother. Cannot wait to get into it. Shout out to the first super chat of the day. Comes the way of Corey No for Life. Brother, thanks so much for the very generous $2 super chat. Corey goes on to say, "Good morning to us bots. We eating good. Indeed that we are. Lots of nuts and bolts, as they say, because bots don't eat regular food. But Korkenstein, my brother from another, how you feeling? Good morning, kind sir. I can't wait to hear your exploits in Avowed. One of, in my opinion, Obsidian's best creations to date. And I think what we've seen because of the release of this is the birth of another AAA franchise in the repertoire of Xbox and Xbox Game Pass. I'm thrilled. How you feeling, brother?
Doing good, doing good. Yeah, man. I've been playing Avowed. I've been trying not to get burnout on it because it's just so good. I find myself going back to it, back to it, back to it, and I'm like, listen, I'm gonna burn myself out before I even get to like the fourth, biodome. I just barely got to the third, so I was like, this, once I get to a new biodome, I kind of take a step back, and then I'll play something else for a little bit, and then jump back in. It's just been amazing. It's such a great game that has a lot of great quality of life features for the genre just as a whole. It's a very casual, streamlined, accessible game. And I'm really happy to talk about it later today.
And you know what? We're gonna get right again. We're gonna jump right into it. Fuzzy Belvedere, second best bald head of the day because, of course, Silent Cypher was first, so he gets number one slot. You get the second slot. Don't worry, you can still get the flag. How you feeling,
Sorry,
brother?
man.
Good morning. You are muted, kind sir.
There we go.
There we go.
What's up, everyone? Glad to be here with you guys this morning. Yeah, enjoying Avowed quite a bit. Haven't got to play as much as I would like. Been busy doing a lot of things around the house, but man, such a great game. Such a great time to be a gamer. Game Pass is definitely taking care of us right now, but yeah, gaming media just they always have the weirdest titles or stories to focus on. Like instead of focusing on the greatness of the game, when is it coming to PS5? When is this going to happen? Like I don't know. It just feels like they're missing the point of the hobby, but I'm pretty sure we'll get into it.
I mean, listen, a perfect example of where I think that ideology comes from. Now, I'm a big fan of Kind of Funny. I've already talked about it. I got a chance to meet Greg in IRL, as the kids like to say, gentleman of a man. I've been a supporter of them since they left IGN to do their own thing with Kind of Funny. I used to be a big supporter of Colin. He kind of went a different way that I've just really fell off of watching any of his stuff. I haven't watched his stuff in years. But I wanted to support him when he left Greg and Kind of Funny because I really enjoyed when they were a pair. And then when obviously, he started making things kind of weird over at Sacred Symbols, I stopped supporting, but I never stopped supporting Kind of Funny. And the ideology that I'm referring to is something that Blessing said while he was on one of their casts, right? When it was announced that Forza Horizon 5 was coming to PlayStation 5, he yelled out, "We won!" Right? Now he got a lot of backlash for that. I don't know why. Because he's a PlayStation kid. there's nothing wrong with that. I think people get it twisted a bit, where if you're a PlayStation only, somehow you're a bad guy. That's not the case. Unfortunately, like Xbox, the very loud PlayStation only fans, the toxic ones, take center stage, and the people that just want to play a game unfortunately get roped into it. Blessing is not toxic at all. He's a PlayStation kid. And I say kid because he's probably a quarter of my freaking age, right? Is he even 25? I don't know. But he's a kid. So he's got excited because he doesn't have to. Because I like Blessing a lot. I think that kid is great. Does he play on PC? I literally have no idea. But I know he plays on PS5. So if he's like me and he doesn't do the PC thing and he does the console thing, he did win. He has won because he didn't have to miss out on one of the greatest racers ever created, and it's going to come to his platform of choice. So I think that, Fuzzy, that is where a lot of the gaming media is. It's unfortunate that they can't take themselves out of the way and write about what people like us want to read about, right? Instead of being it, an article that's why can't I play Avowed right now on my PlayStation? Wah. That's really what it comes down to. And that's I'm just guessing. I could be 1,000% wrong, but that's my just thought, because again, a lot of these kids that are writing these publications, their first console might be a PlayStation 4, right? Like, that's what they grew up in. Maybe they're a little older and they got on a PlayStation 3, but a lot of them started in the PlayStation 4. We'll again, just we're here to have fun. Shout out to Freddie Fox. It says, "Wow, yeah, I know. It's just silliness." But listen, let's get right into Avowed. I am not going to talk much about it because I've talked it to death, and I'm at the end. I'm going to say this right now. I am heartbroken that I am about to beat this game. I know that sounds like complete madness, but I am having so much freaking fun. And like I said, there are 2 glitches that I'm hoping that get rectified. And anyone that has been playing the game knows that there are bounties. Each biome or hub area, I think, has a total of either 5 or 6 of them. And in the first 2 biomes, I had a glitch where I did kill the wanted person, but they drop something you're supposed to collect in order to say, hey, listen, I got the bounty. Look, this is their tooth, or this is their finger, or whatever. And in 2 spots, the circle is there, but their thing that they dropped did not get there. So I'm hoping, I reached out to the dev team, and hopefully they could fix that, because that's an achievement of getting all the bounties, and I kind of want that achievement. So let's hope that gets rectified. But other than that, I want to beat the game because I want to see what happens at the end. I want to see all the choices that I make, because choices matter, folks. I'm being serious. Like, you can, and that's the thing. People are like, oh, you can't be a bad guy. No, you could be a real MF in this game if you want. And there's an achievement for lying, which I don't have. I think I lied twice, not to hurt someone's feelings. And then you got to do it like 12 times. I'm like, God damn it, I got to be a prick. So I'm going to have to start the game over to lie. Isn't that awful? And there's another one where something with your choices, make the wrong choice on something like that. There's a lot of achievements I'm going to have to go back in and be a D-bag. And I don't like that. I'm going to be honest with you. I like being a good guy. I am a Jedi for sure, 10 out of 10 times. But Sound Cypher, let's talk about it. Now, I know that you haven't had a chance to really dive deep into it, and that's fine, because obviously, real life is real life. But I want to get your thoughts on the reception. It has gotten, it's sitting at an 80 meta. A lot of us in the community think that is egregious, considering how many high praise, or how much high praise this game has gotten. And I think the more word of mouth, you're starting to see more people flock to this game. And it's just exciting. It's not exciting from an Xbox or an Xbox fan point of view. As a gamer, just as a general gamer, it's so great to see people so excited about a game. With the world being the way it is, the way social media it is, it has drowned out everything. And I think that is pretty damn special. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's it feels like another one of those moments where the people who are disingenuous with takes stick out like sore thumbs, because the general reception of this thing is that it is a very good game. It's potentially a game of the year contender in a lot of people's opinions so far. And so it's always interesting when you see these things happen. You see everyone giving it rave review, and then you see some stick in the mud that comes out and is like, meh, didn't have enough X, 6 out of 10, or someone gives it the traditional IGN 7 out of 10 for basically no reason. And there's always going to be that, I know, but it definitely feels like it's more obvious when it happens currently. But like you said, a lot of it's getting drowned out because of the positive reception. So those bad actors, when it comes to some of this stuff, aren't really getting the same airtime as they usually would in the room, which makes me happy, because that behavior is the behavior that we should really try and like stomp out, as it is, as like just going out there just so you can get your clicks and engagement. And so you're crapping on something that someone's put years of their life into developing on. Like if it's a bad game, it's a bad game, but you can still have constructive feedback for someone who makes a game. Like even if it does a lot of things wrong, there can still be a positive conversation.
Sure.
If a game does really good, you can still have constructive feedback of, hey, these type of things could be better. But just going out there and crapping on it just because you want that extra engagement is silly. We've seen it time and time again with other things as well. And yeah, it's nice to see. It's nice to see a game come out where general consensus is, no matter who it is, it's really good. As you mentioned, and as we talked about in the backstage, I'm going to get some virtual tomatoes for this, because I've put all of about 20 minutes into the game at this point in time. So all I have pretty much are what you guys have been saying, along with some of my other friends, and then what I've seen in the media. I haven't been able to flesh out my own personal opinion on it, but I look forward to playing it when things start to calm down. I'm hoping this weekend I actually get to dive into it more, but it's just, like I said, the ease and convenience of something like Bellatra, I've still been able to dip my toe into gaming for the last couple of weeks, but that's about all of it. Yeah, I don't know. And obviously, since I can't gush on the game for too long, I will jump into one thing you said you're going to talk on Monday. But the idea of people getting upset that it's not on their preferred system, that's fine. And I get it. But there's really not a lot of excuse anymore, because you don't have to buy an Xbox to play this game.
You don't.
You can get Game Pass and you can play it wherever else. So, instead of finding all of the problems with why it's not on your favorite system, like, you can find solutions, and they're cheap solutions. It doesn't cost that much to get a month of Game Pass. So it just, again, feels like there's a lot of bad actors out there throwing a fit about this game just because it's not on their favorite plastic console, when they could just be playing the game and enjoying it. But again, engagement reigns supreme in some of these folks' eyes.
Well, look, if you don't like the game because you don't like the game, I'm not going to fight anybody on it, right? I know someone in the chat here, Sis for Chew, says Mr. Matty, talking about Matty Plays, did not like the game, did not like Avowed. What is wrong with him? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I stopped watching Matty's content a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago. He's I'm not saying he's a grifter. The guy is a giant-sized content creator, and he works with my brother, of course, on a regular basis, and that is Lord Cognito. I don't have ill will towards him. I don't watch his stuff because his opinion doesn't matter to me. And I'm not saying that to be an a-hole. I'm just saying that what Matty says does not matter to me. He's going to have his opinion. Some people have accused him of grifting. I have not. He does his content his way. Why he didn't like it, listen, I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, he literally destroyed the Starfield expansion. And I was like, is he playing the same game I'm playing? Because I'm freaking loving this right now. And that's okay. Opinions are differ. Though I do want to just kind of, before I bring it up to Korkenstein, you mentioned bad actors, and we don't do the names thing here, folks, because one, I'm going to be 55 this year. I'm too old for this shit, right? So I'm not going to get in the middle of throwing poo at anybody. People are going to be people, and they're going to disappoint you. That's just the way life is. But I can say with a lot of the grifting community, and it seems to have grown quite a bit this year, especially when you consider how poorly Blue Team is going to end up being this year for their first party. And I really think that the grifting community is trying to somehow defend that. And there are 2 points of contention with this particular game that have me just baffled as it being in someone's review. The fact that you would even make mention of it tells me that you're disingenuous and you are, in fact, a grifter. 2 things here. I keep reading in almost every bad review that you read, they go right to, well, this isn't a games streaming service. What the F does that have to do with anything? I keep seeing that. Like, people literally are writing, well, it's in Game Pass and it's fodder. And I think we are well past Game Pass being fodder. I just think that is just a cop-out. And the other thing, and this is one of the major things, well, I expected Skyrim. Well, why are you expecting anything? First of all, I'm not a professional reviewer. I've reviewed games. I reviewed Avowed. And I reviewed the game for what it was. This is what Obsidian has delivered. I'm going to play it. I'm going to like it or not like it. I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. I stand by that. I gave you the reasons why I took a half point off. And I think that they're going to get around to doing these small little things in updates. But I'm reviewing what the work is, not what the work could have been or not the work should have been. And I think that is a lot of the 6s and 5s and 7s that this game has gotten, because people are literally in their reviews saying that, well, it's not Skyrim, it's not Oblivion, it's not Elden Ring. Yeah, it really isn't. It is Avowed, and that's how you should be reviewing it. But again, that's just my thoughts. Korkenstein, I want to hear what you have to say, because you seem to be addicted to this game, where you realize, and I think you're going to win here, because you realize you have a problem by saying, I just got to Zone 3, and you know what? I have to take a break because I'm in it. What has been your experience with Avowed so far? Is it, in your opinion, one of the best Obsidian-made games, or is there something you still consider a bit better?
I think it's definitely one of the best ones they've made. You could tell that they're coming into the new age of RPGs with a very casual, and I made reference to this during the intros, with a very casual and accessible approach. Just some really good quality of life features, like the no stamina when running or jumping and stuff like that. You only use stamina when blocking, or blocking and fighting and combat and stuff like that. I love some of the other features that it has. I just completely brain farted right now.
Well, the quality of life stuff you're talking about. But what about, let me help you here, maybe the over encumbered aspect, which has been taken out of the game. Like, you get it, but you can send your stuff to your stash by a press of a button. Like, that is real world helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's another one. There's a lot there. I made a list and everything like that, but I had to restart my computer before I started. I had the whole delay thing, so I kind of lost it. But I'll just go into the next part about it. But it's very, very casual. Like, even when you streamline a lot of the stuff, like pushing the mission status, so you could either, it shows A, B, C, very helpful in that. The fast travel system, there's always somewhere where I've never really felt like, this is such a, like, even early on, when you're in Paradiso, like where you have to like run across the map. It's like, oh, there's actually a save point right there, or a fast travel point right there. Things like that. Combat is insanely fluid, insanely fluid. I first noticed it with Khalif. I was on Twitter with him, watching his a video he posted from somebody else, and it was just like somebody, they like jumped down, started swinging their sword, ended up switching over to, I think, their grimoire, and started shooting off spells, and it was just so seamless. It looked like one of the, the trailers that we usually get, where you're like, that's not actual gameplay, but this time it was. And just the little details too. So like, they actually have a, I guess, an ice shield. I haven't gotten it yet, but I've only seen it in videos. They have an ice shield, and you could cast it on yourself, and then it lets you walk on water. Like, little minor details like that are really, really kind of cool on what you can do in this game. I've seen a lot of bad takes from people. It's so frustrating too, because I've seen reviewers do this. It's not Skyrim. It's not Baldur's Gate 3. It's not this game. And it's like, that's never that wasn't the case. That they're not trying to say like, hey, we're going to make this Skyrim knockoff. It's like, you can't compare it, especially to a game that's what now 15 something years old. And especially Baldur's Gate 3, which is more of a CRPG. I don't know. It's kind of hard to make that comparison. Definitely a lot of bad faith. But this is, like you were mentioned earlier, this is the signs of a very true, like, good game. The positivity is drowning out the negativity. And I think
I love it.
And that's where you can kind of see the signs of like, hey, this is a great game. And I think a lot of people tried to Redfall and Starfield this. I'm pretty sure somebody's going to try and clip, oh, they're saying these games are good. Whatever. Piss off. I don't really care. But there was a lot of grifting with people that jumped on the bandwagon, especially for Redfall. Yes, it had its issues. Yes, there were things, but mechanically and like at a foundation level, it was a good game. It was just marred in a lot of bugs, and it didn't get the TLC that it deserved. But you saw definitely towards the end of it, once that landscape changed of everybody's dogpiling on Redfall. Look at the reviews. I don't think you can see the timed reviews when they came out, but once you started seeing some of the big ones start, crapping on it, you saw these other smaller sites, 2s, 3s, 4s, all of a sudden just came out of
Piling
nowhere.
on the rabbit, as I like to call it. Yep.
Like 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out after the game released, which dropped the score significantly again. Same with Starfield. You had people trying to grift that. Starfield is a great game. It does something different that people weren't used to, so change is a little hard. I think that's another thing for Avowed. It's doing something to where people have known for a while that, or it's doing something that people are so used to for a while, like a Bethesda game, that it's going to play a certain way, but you can't keep doing that. Wood's a game, a classic game, like a platformer, simple, like I don't know. I mean, even Mario to a certain extent, where you're just pushing one button, to jump and run forward, that kind of thing. Would that kind of hold its age if that came out as a brand new game today? No, because you have to change with the times. Now you have something like Super Mario Odyssey.
Yes.
Where that comes out, and it's definitely vastly different. You have to change with the time. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over. And yes, change is hard. And yes, you might not like it as a hardcore RPG fan, but this is the landscape. And I've said it numerous times on the podcast as well. Casual gamers are the majority of who buy these games and who are spending the money, not these hardcore guys. They want to pay homage, and they do. I think Avowed pays great homage to those fans of the hardcore RPG aspect, and especially of the universe, by having so much lore in the game. And that's another one too that I really, really love. The narrative, the character development, it's all there. And they pay a lot of homage to that to make sure, like, hey, these people are getting exactly what they asked for. Avowed just all around is a great game. I'd say, I'd give it maybe so far from what I've played an 8.5.
Fair.
I definitely read the IGN review. I think we talked about it on Monday. Read the IGN review, which they gave it a 7. But if you actually read the review, it reads more like an 8 or an 8.5 as well, which is weird. It got a 7. So, I mean, they get that that stereotype for a reason, the IGN 7. It's just the safest bet. That doesn't mean 7's a bad game by any means. Don't take it that way. 7's actually a decent score. But is it the score that, a game like Avowed actually deserved? And I don't think it is. I think this game does a lot of things right. There are some minor issues I thought character development could be just a little bit more involved, like the godlike stuff. I thought maybe you could kind of change some of the colors and things like that, which I'm sure I could get a mod for in eventually. But I think Jesse, we were talking in the Xbox Era Discord, he said I think it's more of a lore issue on why you can't do some of that stuff. So that could be a possibility, which makes sense. Yeah, overall, I think the companions need a little bit more work. I think definitely the AI isn't that great when it comes to combat. Which I think could be just a little more, they could be a little bit more useful. I've seen that criticism a lot, and I kind of agree with it from certain people. But other than that, it's a bug game, hardly any bugs. I think Mav and Pong on PM and the PM said he saw last night. I think he said he saw like a floating tree, but it was like once, and that was it. It's just all around a great game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, going back to the IGN 7 thing, I got some TLDR about the way that they do their reviews. And again, this is behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people don't know. How it was explained to me, how IGN specifically does it, is the reviewer writes their review. And the way, again, this is how it was explained to me, their editor scores it. Like if they think that it's an 8.5, it's not scored by the writer, it's scored by the reviews editor. We know who the reviews editor is. So again, what gets more press for, and again, say this is my opinion, folks, I'm not pointing any fingers, but what gets more clicks for IGN? Giving an Xbox game a 7 or giving the Xbox game an 8.5? Probably a 7, right? And we know the reviews editor is notorious for it because the reviews editor took it upon himself not to review Starfield once. He reviewed it twice, once on PC and once on Xbox, and he gave a 7 for both of them. Is that an agenda? Well, I mean, obviously he's come out and said that he doesn't like consolidation, and he was going to fight back against it, right? But that's just an opinion, folks. Fuzzy Belvedere, we got a chance to talk on Monday, obviously, but I do want to get your hot take on how far you've gotten in Avowed, what your thoughts are, and we're not talking scores. The scores are the score. Someone in the chat said that it's moved up to an 8.1 now on Metacritic, or an 81, which is awesome. It's awesome. I mean, yes, again, the grifters are going to grift, right? That's just what they do. But we're here to have fun. We're here to talk about a game that the community is really adoring. And it's probably going to be one of the best 81 games that anyone plays this year. And a lot of people are going to have this in their game of the year conversation because it deserves it. It does so many things to advance. And that's the other thing, gentlemen and chat. I saw that a lot of people in their reviews say that this doesn't do enough for the genre to kind of push it forward. I 1,000% disagree with that, because almost in every genre, when you become over encumbered, you're dumping stuff, right? I know it's a small thing, but the fact that you can transfer your stuff to your camp is a monster-sized deal. But to add some additional caveat to that is, usually when you are playing these open hub or open world games, you need your things on you when you get to someone to sell them, right? You can't sell them unless they're on you. That's not the case in here. And again, it's a small caveat, but it makes a big difference on wasted time. You don't have to go back to your camp where your stash is. You can literally press the X button and you go to your stash and you sell from your stash to the dealer. And that could be anywhere in the world. Again, it's small. But it's a quality of life thing that pushes the industry forward, the genre forward, making things different. Again, maybe it's the fighting, and that's the other thing. Can we actually give Obsidian some freaking credit here? Because one of the biggest complaints from inception with this game was the combat felt floaty. It didn't feel heavy. It didn't feel like I was actually whacking something with a sword or an axe. That's not the case. They tightened it up really well, and the combat is fast, and you can switch between heavy with an axe, press Y. That's the other thing. You switch builds by one press of a button. That's it. You go from heavy, I'm cutting your head off with an axe, to now I'm going to freeze the shit out of you and break you into a million pieces. It's freaking amazing. But listen, I've gushed enough. Please, Fuzzy, let's hear your thoughts, man.
One of the things I do want to address first is the review aspects of the game. Like I'm probably 50, I gotta check it at some point, but I think I'm like 15 hours in, so I'm not that far in, but I've done a lot of exploring in the first two areas. So I'm trying to find all the caves, all the secrets, and basically see if there's certain things under the water in certain areas, and find out if you can either drop certain things or pick up certain things. Like I know there's a coin deal with a pond. Took me a while to find a place to drop the coin and stuff like that. But there's a lot of depth to this game. But when it comes to reviewers or those in the gaming media, we're having almost like another Cuphead moment, where there was a guy trying to break the wooden planks that it shows that they're destructible.
I saw that. Yeah.
And he's doing the charge. Like if you just whack at it, it breaks. But if you do the charge, especially if you have that bull thing equipped as like your upgrade, you're going to rush forward, not down. Which I don't know if people that review games should have a bit of a bio of where they play games or what games they've played. Like that should be somebody that should lose their job. I don't normally ask for people to lose their job, but that's somebody, if you're going to be a reviewer and you can't, after making the same stupid repeated, thing or action, and you keep on failing, lose your job, get out of the business, find something that doesn't inquire or require too much thought. Because if you can't figure out something under you is not going to break when you charge forward, then I don't know what to tell you. That's terrible. That actual company should be embarrassed that they have that person hired as a reviewer. Like I'm being dead serious, and I don't usually go about bad mouthing people that way, but like seriously, I wouldn't care what game platform it's on. That is an example of a bad reviewer at the core of being able to play games. Like I can understand if maybe they had a disability or something, and I don't mean to make light of that, but it's like that's something that needs to be fixed within that industry. And if the gaming media can't fix it, then maybe we can fix it as far as ignoring them or pay them no mind and put them in that bucket. But that's on that side. But I know there's a lot of reviewers that gave deductions on the subscription service aspect. I don't get it. Like, if anything, that should give it bonus points for the fact that you don't have to come out of pocket a lot.
There you go.
To be able to get into the game. So that should be, bonus points for access. I don't know. Maybe I look at things a little bit differently. There were people that were giving deductions on points for what some of the staff made as far as their social media public, remarks and things like that. And I get that. Like, from an integrity standpoint, if you have issues with one individual of a team of hundreds, that they make some sort of public statement that goes against your, ideology or beliefs or whatever the case may be, I totally get that. but it's probably better to not review the game, because unless that's a sole dev that made that game, then you're punishing everybody else involved. And we've all encountered in every form of employment a bad apple. Now, does that one bad apple ruin it for that entire, company or industry or what have you? In some people's eyes, it can, but that would be a point of where maybe you make that public statement. I'm not going to review this game because they, feel that it's necessary to keep this person employed after this public statement. I would respect that as your review, as opposed to saying, well, this is a 6 out of 10 because they have this one knucklehead out of hundreds of people that worked on this game. I mean, to certain extents, that's what happened with Hogwarts Legacy. Like, I get it. If you don't like the original author of the IP, that's fine. But the people that made the game don't have anything to do with that. And things that they put in the game would directly conflict with what the original IP holders' beliefs are, or at least their public statements. So I find it ironic that some people within certain communities badmouth the game without actually playing the game. They would have actually had a better victory lap or celebration moment to show that, okay, I don't like this author. And guess what? Maybe the people that made this game don't like the author either, because they put things that this author would not, approve of, or something to that extent in the game. But that's a whole nother story. But I hate it when gaming media reviews a game for what they want it to be, as opposed to what the game it actually is. Like, just play the game. And then if you want to put in the afterthoughts, like your opinion, like I think I would have enjoyed this better if it was more like XYZ. But on its core, it has these improvements on, combat, or these improvements on, handling, inventory and things along those lines. Like, those would be the better ways of looking at evaluating the game, as opposed to, well, it's a Far Cry game and I didn't want it to be a Far Cry game. Like, that was a ridiculous thing that a lot of the gaming media was talking about when Far Cry 6 came out. It's like, it has Far Cry in the name. What do you expect it to be? Assassin's Creed or what? I don't get it. But
no, they wanted God of War is what they wanted.
And it seems like they want a lot of God of War, but then when Ragnarok came out, they didn't show up to buy it like they did for the first one in 2018. So I don't know. Do they even know what they want? Like, at this point, the gaming media to me is dead and irrelevant, because they don't seem to enjoy this hobby for what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to play games to either escape reality or stress or whatever you want to call it. But they critique on the most minuscule things on certain stuff, and then, badmouth a game because it didn't meet their criteria. And then when the game meets their criteria, it didn't bring anything new to the table. It's like, well, what are you asking for? Like, if you're that picky about games, how about this? Make games, and then maybe you'll be happy. I don't know. That should be another calling for them. But I've rambled enough. But to all those that have Game Pass, give this game a try. If you don't have an Xbox, try it on your PC, try it on your phone, try it on your TV that may have the app. Try this game. I would say it's worthwhile trying. Don't sit there and wait for it to come to your preferred platform if that's the case. Game Pass is a cheap enough thing where you can subscribe for a little bit, try it on something, and then realize whether it's for you or not. And I understand not every game is for everyone. I get that. But for me, as a person that loves RPGs and hack and slash games in general, this has a lot going for it for me. The upgrading system, the loot, the variance in things that you can find in the world versus things you could buy at the stores, or the interactions with the store, purveyors and stuff, where you might do a mission for them or find something for them and then get a discount or get something special from them because of that. It's just, there's so much to this game. And I know people before were saying, oh, well, it doesn't really, fall into the RPG thing because your decisions don't matter. Like, hell, they don't matter. They definitely do matter. And you can wind up having instant enemies because of a decision you made like hours ago in another town, kind of thing. So there's a lot to this. And I would say this, I know some people don't have as much free time to dedicate to games, but this is a game that probably deserves at least 2 playthroughs so you can try different things. But there are going to be times where you have to make a hard decision of, well, if I piss off this person, I can take their armor that's on them that's probably better than what I have, or I could play nice with this person and then maybe they can help me find more supplies so I can upgrade the armor I already have. And no spoilers or anything like that, but just bear in mind your decisions will have consequences down the road. And certain people that you interact with or certain creatures you kill might, have a negative effect on things, or certain creatures that you do kill might make you the hero of the next town. So just bear all of that in mind when playing this. Not to say to, look at every choice that you have to make and spend a half hour thinking, well, should I do this or should I do that? Just go with your gut in a lot of cases, and it'll probably make for a more fun playthrough. But it's probably worthy of playing at least twice at this point. But enjoying the game. Hack and slash fans, RPG fans, give this game a try. I recommend it. My score is in the high 8s, low 9s. The only thing that I would say would be, I guess, a little bit of improvement going from console to PC. It's just some of the textures, but that might be just the limits of a 3080 at this point. But, for an Unreal Engine 5 game, this is the least stuttering game I've ever encountered. Like Unreal Engine 5, even on PC, there's always these micro stutters, even if you spend the time to let the shaders load and all that stuff. Haven't had any of those issues. I think I've only had one flicker issue, and I can't even remember what the heck it was. I think it was because I killed an enemy and they were like partially in the wall or whatever. And then on the reload, it had it where, and that's another thing. I like the fact that if you kill an enemy and they had a drop, you'll find like a little baggie in place if you either didn't pick it up pick it up right away, or if you have to, go back on a reload, the stuff is still there in the area where the body used to be. But fun game. I encourage everybody to give it a try, and I'll leave it at that.
I mean, listen, great points from everybody. The chat, nearly 500 people here. Most people are, enjoying the game for what it is. Now, the game is a Obsidian joint. Make no mistake here, folks. It looks, tastes, and smells like what you would get from an Obsidian joint. It just really is. And I'm having a blast with it. Again, I'm glad everyone is enjoying themselves. Like I said, for me personally, past the enjoyment, past seeing how excited the community is, which of course is joyful for me because I'm a positive content creator. I enjoy being happy. I enjoy celebrating. It's very easy to be negative. It's so easy to dump on something because of something big or small. But it takes real courage to get out there, especially on social media, and tell people that you love something. Because there's going to be, people have been coming for me. Like I put out pictures and tweets, and a lot of really great, people are like doing the same thing I'm doing. Oh, boom, look at these shots. But then there you do get those few in there. Look at that 3 out of 10. You're such a moron. You like this game. And and when I read that, first of all, it's great because you expose yourself to me. Pause. So I just block you, right? Like I don't comment. I'm 54 years old. I barely have enough time to play. I'm getting up at 2:00 in the morning because I'm dreaming about this goddamn game. You think I have time to write to some knucklehead? I just put them on the pay no mind list, which is what you should do. Don't fight with people on the internet. People are dumb. People are dumb, and they keyboard cowards, folks. You got to think about that. The other person on the side that's writing these horrible things, they're cowards because they would never say that to anybody in real life. Now, I'm a big man, and I would tell you right now, I got no problem going to jail. My wife will still get the pension. So if I had somebody tell me some of the things that they've said to me, I'm popping them in the mouth. There's no doubt about it. And it's fine. But they would never say that to you, which is why they're social media lights, right? They sit in their homes with their little keyboards and they write terrible things because that's all they can do. They don't even leave outside the house. So that's that's social media, folks. But I didn't need to tell you that. But what I do need to tell you is that we are going to move on to the big topic of the show. Now, this one is a 2-tiered monster because what it does is it aligns Phil Spencer with Satya Nadella. Now, there's been some talk in the community that, that Satya doesn't understand games. Well, I don't know if he even plays games, but he understands business. And because of his understanding of business and his trust in Phil Spencer, well, Phil Spencer literally saved Xbox with a conversation. We all know that to be true. And they had two different interviews at two different times. And even though they don't reference one another, they align with where Xbox is going. And the first part of it is I want to talk about lastly, because I've talked about this pretty much all week because it was such a lengthy, beefy 36 minutes that the guys at Xbox Era got a chance to hang out with Phil Spencer, and he answered a lot of questions and really did speak his mind. But before we actually get to that, let me just catch up on a couple of super chats that have popped in here. Adidas 20 generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, "Good morning," and the 360 era returns. Salute. Yeah, it kind of does feel like the Xbox 360, especially when you consider Ninja Gaiden 4 being announced. That's Game Pass. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black coming out as a shadow drop. Some of the games that they have, some of the big third-party things that are popping their way into Game Pass, even though they're not exclusive. Because that was the other thing about the 360. They had a lot of it. I mean, you remember Mass Effect was an exclusive. BioShock was an exclusive at some point, right? Like, they had some bangers in there that were deals that they made with the Xbox 360. I mean, Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey is another one that I hope that they bring that back at some point. I'd love to see a remake of that from the ground up. Give the Final Fantasy VII remake, coat of paint and bring that back. Oh my God, I would play that. That is an amazing JRPG. And they had a lot of those types of games. So you're onto something there, Adidas 20. But thank you for the support, brother. We super appreciate it. And our very good friend, Sith Lord, drops an outstanding $2 super chat. He says, "Obsidian has carried Xbox this gen, best investment." It's funny you say that because the other day, and I think a lot of people will agree with this, that how I feel about Spider-Man on PlayStation, right? I'm going to shill for that because I'm an Insomniac fan. I have been for years. Spider-Man 2018, loved every second of it, even flying through and chasing pigeons. I get it. It's a silly, side mission, but I did it. I platinumed that game. I almost platinum Miles, which is the second one. And Spider-Man 2, I got halfway through and I don't know what happened. I didn't finish it, which it makes me sick. And obviously it's hard because I don't have enough time to play everything. I got to get back to that. But I really, when you look at the two studios, you take Insomniac and see how Insomniac has carried PlayStation for years. And then you look at Obsidian, you say, well, wait a second, Boom. Have Obsidian really carried Xbox? Well, yeah, because they have Pentiment. I know it's not a big title, but it's still a title. They had a passion project turned gas game extraordinaire in Grounded, right? The Lost was it Lost Worlds? What am I thinking of? What is the space
Outer
one?
Worlds.
Outer Worlds. Why I say Lost Worlds? So weird. The Outer Worlds came out again. Amazing game. If you didn't play it, please play it before the second one comes out. The character development was freaking amazing. And now the next one is going to be a looker. They're using Unreal Engine 5. It is going to look really good. So the Outer Worlds came out. They have the Outer Worlds 2 coming out the second half of this year, right? We have Avowed that came out, scores and everything. And the studio, folks, if you didn't know, and I just read this like seconds ago, I didn't notice Clobriel tweeted about this. The studio only has 285 people. That's it. That's a pretty freaking small studio to do what they've done, right? And supposedly, we know that the Outer Worlds 2 is coming. We know Avowed is out. We're all playing it. We know they're supporting Grounded, but they are supposedly working on something else. What is that something else? I don't know. I'd like to believe it's Fallout New Vegas 2 or Fallout something, because I don't want to wait 17 years to get Fallout 5 from Bethesda. Sorry, Bethesda, you're taking just too long. But that I'd like to see, I really do think personally that both of these studios are the crown jewels, in my opinion, of Xbox Game Studios and PlayStation Studios. That's just my take on it. You could disagree. I hear you, but that's just my hot take on it. Holy matrimony. This is great. I can't believe we have him in here. He hasn't been here for years. Dreadpool, welcome back, dude. How the heck are you? You just popped in here because obviously you were in the Breakfast of Boom DM, and
Yes.
how you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be back. I've been jonesing to come back and hang out with you guys. Just, everything's always in the background or after the fact, playing, watching the replays. But yeah, it's great to be back. And, I kind of have something I want to talk about and kind of get off my chest.
Sure. Yeah. Well, before you know what, let's let you do that before before we get into the next two topics.
Yeah. So, I know we're on the topic of Avowed, right?
Well, yeah, we're moving on, but you want to add some context to it by all means, please.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
You guys know I've never been like, every time we watch a trailer, I've been like, it's not for me. I'm happy for it. I'm happy for my friends. I'm happy for all this stuff. Everybody's criticizing it about Skyrim and this and that. And it's like, it's not the same game. It's not the same developers. It's got nothing. It's its own thing. And they even said it's its own thing. Why are we doing this stuff? Why are we sitting here criticizing the game, right? Again, FOMO was getting to me more recently. I didn't pay for the extra jump in ahead of time. As soon as Tuesday hit, I started streaming 12 o'clock because that's when it was like prime time for Avowed to go. And then I find out, no. 1 o'clock, not 12 o'clock my time. I'm like, are you kidding me? So for an hour, come to find out I had to re-download it for some reason, even though it was already downloaded. But guess what? I played that game for 5 hours. Game was good. I didn't have, and I know some people had glitches. A few of my friends had glitches that were really irked them, but I didn't have any issues. And I'm probably jinxing myself on this now, but I'm telling you, it was easy to get into, and just going through. I was just doing my own thing, and then I come, as I'm talking to other people about it, it's like, oh yeah, I did this, and it's like, I didn't know we could do that. I didn't know we could do this. It was like, holy cow. You know what I mean? And I streamed for 6 hours. So 5 hours of that was actual gameplay. So for someone that did not care about this game, it's actually a good game. So put that in perspective of someone that didn't care and was like more interested, like one of the later trailers that they put out. I was like, oh, okay. Now I'm interested. So now, if you put that in perspective and you quit listening to these guys that are trying to clickbait, oh, this looks like this. How come I can flame this person's face, but yet they're not feeling it? They're not. It's not the same game. If they wanted to make a simulation game like that, they would have made that. That's not what they do. They make a game that's fun to play. I would say it's more arcadey, but at the same time, it's not. It is very detailed in its own way. So have at it. Don't listen to the naysayers. Don't listen to those guys. Don't even give them any attention. But definitely play the game. Definitely try it out yourself.
I mean, that's a great point of view. Again, listen, the grifting community knows that listen, it's social media. And obviously negativity and hate sells. People want to watch the world burn. That's just unfortunate. Play the game for yourself. If it's not for you, that is okay. Not every game is for every gamer, ladies and gentlemen, and that is perfectly fine. But I think that it's not Skyrim, but it's not this. Well, they told you that. And I will say this, another positive before and I do want to really move on to the next topic, but so how it has been explained to me is if you are a fan of Pillars of Eternity, where this world, the Living Lands, is from, you will get extra kudos for the story because there are cameos. Now, those cameos are completely lost on me because I've never played Pillars of Eternity. Those are just not my type of games. I have no connection, or I had no connection to the Living Lands. But now I'm here. I have my four compadres. I understand what the living lands are. I understand how they're broken up. I understand that now. I feel like I'm connected. So it's they figured out a way for normies, I suppose, like myself, who is an RPG fan but has no connection to this universe. Now I'm in, and I want to stay, and I want to learn more. So it's they did a really good job with that. But
What
Fred,
do I always say, Boom? I've always said expand the lore. You know,
yes,
give
indeed,
us more stuff. Don't always give us the exact same thing. Give us more stuff. And Halo is prime example of give us the more lore, give us more games and different ways to play the story that these events are happening and expand on them. And this is a prime thing for Pillars. You
yeah.
know, if you weren't into Pillars before, well, guess what? Maybe now you might be.
Well, it's listen again. They got me for sure. They
They
definitely
got
got me
me.
for sure. So and they got you, and you had no interest in the game whatsoever, which I think is really dope. But listen, I'm gonna go right back to Silent Cipher. Silent, look, there's a lot to get into with this particular topic. Now, I pulled this story from TrueAchievements.com. It was written by Tom West. Now, this was posted a couple of days ago, but it's an important topic because of what happened yesterday with Satya Nadella and his commentary about the importance of having a stout AAA library for Xbox. And he specifically said that. But the title of the article says Xbox wants to continue supporting story games within Xbox Game Pass. And it says as many publishers are now focusing on live service, Xbox boss Phil Spencer wants Game Pass to be a great space for self-contained story-based games with a clear ending. And it goes on to say, while many publishers are turning to the live service model to recoup increased development costs, Xbox wants to continue to support story-based games with Xbox Game Pass. Phil Spencer says part of the reason Microsoft wanted to create a subscription service was to support games with a beginning, middle, and end, like the upcoming exclusive South of Midnight. In a recent interview with Xbox Era, Phil Spencer spoke about Xbox Game Pass and that part of the reason Microsoft really wanted to create a subscription service was so it could support games with a clear ending. And I have a couple of quotes here from Phil. And again, if you have not watched the interview with Xbox Era, I highly ask that you go check it out, not only to support John, Special Nick, and Jesse, and the team that works over at Xbox Era, but it really was a damn good review. A lot of fun, very light, and a lot of really big questions were answered by Phil. Well, here are a couple of statements from him regarding what we're talking about. He said, I said years ago, I kind of got some tomatoes thrown at me about the impact of first party games have in our industry. And it was really this struggle that I saw for the business results. It's obviously been huge for single player games. There's no doubt. But part of the reason for trying to get a subscription going was to allow us to also support games that have a beginning, middle, and end. I think that the synergies between I want to play a game, indie's not a small game, but like say indie, and then I'm finished. Avowed is coming, and I think what he's referring to is basically okay. So indie isn't a small game, and it's not. It depending on how much you put into the game as well. Like I said about Avowed, the more you put into the game, the more the game rewards you as the player. Indiana Jones is very similar on what you can find, the secrets that you can find. Well, his second quote is, I love the event from our Dev Direct. All of those were single player games. They were all games that have a beginning, middle, and end. And it's because I didn't want to see every game turn into some big service-based game because they felt like that's where the business model was. It's not easy to do that. Not every story is told in that way. Not every game kind of that supports that or have a creative idea supports that kind of a business model. So where I really get excited about this particular story is more so that these single player games that the Xbox community, people like me, I love single player, story driven, adult theme type of games. If you look at the roadmap that Xbox has provided to us, Silent, it does seem that they're going to deliver that. Now, I do want to add the second story to this because obviously we're already at the hour mark, so I'm going to give you both stories rather than to come back around to it. Now, the second story comes to us from purexbox.com. It was written by Ben Kerry. Now, this is what Microsoft CEO commits to producing great quality games as Xbox expands. Now, the story basically says the discussion about Microsoft's current business ventures led the chatter about Muse AI, which, if you didn't know what Muse AI is, what that is something that's going to work directly with Xbox. So your older games will be able to move to new hardware and get visual upgrades thanks to this new AI, right? Well, this chatter that we're going to talk about comes the way of the announcement of Muse AI and how Microsoft is trying to utilize lots of different products and ideas across multiple disciplines. While this is the case with Muse, which could have a much wider implication at Microsoft more than just Xbox, Satya Nadella makes it clear that to be successful in gaming, you have to focus on great games, not just products like this. So here are a couple of quotes, and I'm going to hand it over to the panel and to the chat. Satya Nadella said this: gaming has got a long history at the company, and we want to be in gaming for gaming's sake. I hate it to be business where there's means to some other end. They have to be ends unto themselves. For example, cloud gaming is a natural thing for us to invest in because that's just what they're doing. It said, he goes on to say, expand the ability for people to play games everywhere. Same thing with AI in gaming. We definitely think that it can be helpful. And finally, he goes on to say, as the world's largest publisher, we will be helpful, but at the same time, we got to produce great quality games. You can't be a game publisher without first and foremost being focused on that. I think that is important, and that aligns with, pardon the sirens, aligns with exactly what Phil said. And again, this is a separate interview. It does seem like AAA development, strong stories, strong characters, a strong presence, even though they're considered a now third party developer, one of the biggest publishers in gaming. I think it aligns. Let me get what you have to say about this, Silent.
Yeah. So I was just going to say, though, those sirens, I figured that was in relation to your first topic, which was the murder that Sony is experiencing right now with all of their stuff going the opposite way that anyone wants. No, so, okay, I'll cover both and I'll try and be succinct with it. So the thing about the whole single player focus versus gaming as a service, we've seen what's happened to Sony. Sony used to be primarily single player focused experiences. They saw the money and the potential of doing something like a games as a service. They announced 12 to 13 of them. Only a quarter of them remain, if that, after like a year or two since they originally announced their new strategy. So that tells you, just by reading the room, obviously, the games as a service on its own is not sustainable just by itself. You have to have other options. Phil has always been told, like, hey, we want those single player experiences. We want to get to have those. We want to continue with those, because a lot of people were like, no, that's going to go away. Single player experiences do not work in every scenario in a games as a service, and they're recognizing that. For me personally, I never got into Fallout 76 because I want to do my own thing. And initially that was not Fallout 76. I preferred the original mainline Fallout games, for example. Something like that with Elder Scrolls as well. Like the idea of having a bunch of friends in that probably appeals to some, not so much for me. I'd rather just dive in and ignore life and pretend like nothing else exists. So if I have some kid running around yelling at his mom to grab him some chocolate milk while I'm trying to do a quest, like that's not an experience I enjoy. Um, so yeah, you look at their situation, and Microsoft is in a very unique situation at this point because they have enough money and they have enough studios that they can support both a single player and a games as a service approach. And you don't have to forfeit or sacrifice a certain game to one specific style. You look at something like Twisted Metal with Sony, and could have been cool, except for they were going to try and do a games as a service. It didn't pan out, so they canned it. I would have loved to have another single player experience in the Twisted Metal universe, but they didn't want to hear that. All they saw was the money. And so you look at this situation where, like, Microsoft can have their Candy Crushes, they can have their Elder Scrolls, they can have all these other things, but they can also focus on the single player stuff because they've made themselves big enough and they have enough structure between Game Pass and sales that they can make it financially viable and sustainable. And then on your second one, there's been a lot of people coming out about the AI thing and how it's a bad thing for many reasons. Be it, it's going to take away voice acting, it's going to make it so people have bland games because you're just using AI to create the games instead and stuff. And Phil specified on this directly. He mentioned it when they were talking about it with get the other lady, but they were talking about how they were playing around with the AI and how it's not replacing the people and replacing the assets and stuff. It's making it so it's easier to build these games in a
Yes.
shorter time frame.
Yep.
Which that is something I think we've all said is like I've said multiple times. I wish we could go back to Xbox 360 generation where games were coming out constantly. Like you had multiple games in a franchise come out over the Xbox 360 lifespan. Versus nowadays, you get like one, maybe two games over a generation at best, and that's if you're lucky. So, the idea of them being able to focus on the content, but be able to streamline it and make it so they can get stuff out faster, that's a win to me. Like if you can make it easier for devs, that cuts down your overall cost to make the game, which also helps them because maybe we won't see as big of layoffs if you don't have to spend that much on these processes. So I see the positive for it, and I see how it could be a really good thing. We'll see as time goes on what happens with it, but I think it's definitely a benefit, and if they can get it put into play, that would be a big win for them.
Did anyone on the panel or in the chat see that LA Noir side by side with the Muse? They showed a picture of what it looked like, and then they showed a picture of what the Muse AI did, and it looked freaking incredible. Like I was like, "Holy crap! Are you kidding me? That's what they're going to be able to do." And that's what it apparently is going to. It's going to be able to bring these games not only from hardware that's that they're stuck on, but modernize them with their graphics, which is crazy. And again, nobody wants to see anybody get out of work. I know that with the AI stuff, it's tricky. It's a razor's edge that they're walking on. I'm glad that they're being very forthcoming and very down the middle. If you watch that 7-minute video that Phil put out regarding Muse AI about how they've sent it out to creators to use so they understand that it's not putting people out of job. It's simply assisting them on making games, doing things for them that were mundane during development. I think that's going to be great. We'll see what happens. Again, it's new territory, but again, great points all around. Cork and Stein, let's talk about AAA development at Xbox, because one of the concerns with Xbox, quote unquote, going third party or multi-plat was that somehow they were going to lose identity, right? Somehow, because they're putting, and again, listen, I was there for a long time. I'm like, I would not put anything on Sony, but that's just my personal opinion, and I'm also an old man. I understand, and I've come around on it where, well, at this point, there ain't nothing I can do about it. So games are going to be going over. Has anything been taken away from me? The answer is no. And the more money they make on PlayStation, the more money they make on Switch. Same way with Steam, they're going to then reinvest into Xbox Game Pass. And between these two interviews, one with Phil, one with Satya, AAA development is at the core. And Satya Nadella literally said that in order for us to maintain being the world's largest publisher, we need to maintain AAA development. We need to keep making games that other people are going to want to play. So I think that really does clear up any misconception of, well, they're just going to be making games as fodder. No, if no one's going to buy the game on PlayStation if it isn't a good game. And is it going to release day and date? I have no idea. Is there going to be some sort of a lull, 3 months, 6 months, a year? I don't know the business because I'm not sitting in a room with them. But I'm interested to get your thoughts on both Phil's commentary regarding single player, because I think this is important. They are trying to be, and they already are, the biggest publisher. But what sells most on PlayStation? Single player, story-driven games. What sells the most on Nintendo Switch and the Switch 2? Single-player, fun family-type games. Yes, there's multiplayer. They play Call of Duty. They play Fortnite. They play Apex Legends. They play PUBG. I get it. They play Marvel Rivals now. They do. They play it. Marvel Rivals blew up on PlayStation. That's not surprising at all. But the fact that we have confirmation that single-player, story-driven content, AAA content, is still going to be made should really calm any of the concerns for what Xbox is going to do. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's just so frustrating because you can't have, what, they have like 20 plus studios now, and people are
No,
like,
they have 30. 30. Yeah.
You're not going to make AAA games and this. It's how can you have that many studios and not have AAA development? The fact that they had to even come out and say some of this is just, again, it's the same thing where Xbox says something, nobody listens. Xbox does something, and everybody's confused and mad and angry for stuff that they've already said. Even still, some people took this the wrong way from Phil way back in the day when he already said, about multiplat, about legacy titles. People were like, oh, no, that just means that games that are already on there or games that have already been made are staying on there. And it's like, no, I told a lot of people, I was like, no, I think he's pretty much talking about legacy titles like Doom, legacy titles like Elder Scrolls, like Fallout, like, those kind of titles are legacy IPs that have been everywhere for the longest time. But and then all of a sudden all this stuff comes out. Well, what do you mean multiplat? It's just frustrating that, they have to keep coming out and saying the same thing and doing the same thing over and over because content creators want to create different narratives that get them engagements and clicks. Same with the media, gaming media here. It's, I don't know. It's so frustrating to me to kind of hear this when it's been a standard for, it's been said numerous and multiple times. Yes, sure. I'll kind of push back a little bit on the point about single player games and stuff like that. They sell, but do they continue revenue sales? No. That's your Marvel Rivals. That's your Call of Duty.
Good point, man. Great point.
That's, but that's just Xbox has been their whole entire platform, which has set them up for success these last few years. Is they've diversified their portfolio. It's not the over-the-shoulder, single-player, Hollywood blockbuster, action-adventure game that we've seen from other platform holders. And that's their only games that they have from those platform holders. Nintendo gets away with it. Again, Nintendo's the exception. They're not the norm. Nintendo has, 50-plus years of history, and, gamers that grew up on Nintendo now have kids, and those kids are now having kids. That's how long they've been in the business of games, and creating toys and things like that. They've built nostalgia as a core part of their history, and people. Oh, I remember playing Mario. When I was a kid. So now you're going to play Mario when I was a kid, and now their parents are like, oh man, the new Mario is coming out. I'm going to have you play this to my kids. It's just a trickle down effect, and their development costs are not insanely low, but they're insanely low compared to the AAA development that's going on at other platform and studio holders. Their hardwares don't count as much. So I hate when people use that point, but what about Nintendo? It's so disingenuous because it's not one for one on how that works. As far as the AI stuff goes, AI's become a dirty word. I heard you mention it. It's just become a dirty word that a lot of people automatically assume job loss. And that's with Muse, that's not the case. It's not this text box or chat box, like Grok or Copilot, where it's like, make me a game. And then now you're gonna have, the next Halo that's entirely developed by AI in, a matter of a minute. That's not the case. What this technology is, and I wish I had this as a QA tester, is it helps you with development, and you plug it in, it sees what it can do and if it'll work, and then you can kind of try and push it out. It saves a lot of the error of missing the mark and then having to waste all that time to come back and now fix it. It does a lot of really, really great stuff, but people hear procedural and they think it's creating games, and that's not the case. And it's frustrating when people get upset about it because we want less crunch time in the industry. Why are you making developers do all this stuff? And we need better conditions. And they're like, okay, well, here's Muse. This will help with some of the crunch time. Not like that. I don't want it like that. You guys are taking away jobs, and can't have both ways, guys. Like, you got to pick a lane and stay in it. It's just the bad faithers again that just, want to be outraged at something. But yeah, and then another thing too, why aren't, ports coming to Xbox? Why are these? Because the ROI in it. Now, when you have something like Muse, this makes it possible. This makes it where devs don't have to eat that overcost. Because let's be honest, backwards compatibility is great.
Yep.
But not a lot of developers are going to go back and try and redevelop a game and make it modern if it's not going to sell. And a lot of people don't want to go back. I mean, we've already seen the black hole development here of Call of Duty, Fallout, or not Fallout, Call of Duty, Fortnite. These games that are black holes essentially for gas, games that people just stay focused in. So not a lot of younger consumers are trying to go back and play these games, in which a lot of dev people realize, or there's not markets where they can go back in redevelopment because they weren't successful there or they weren't released in that market. I'm talking about a lot of these Japanese games were like Capcom, where you had the Marvel and things like that, Marvel and Monster Hunter, where stories I believe skipped Xbox, but it's like that wasn't the prime target, wasn't Xbox at the time. So you're not really going to get that heavy investment of people trying to develop that game to port on a system it was never made for and it was never actually done. But Muse, you can save some of that return of investment. So now more games can start coming that are port, and they're cheap to develop, not cheap, but they're more cost effective to develop for without making developers take the huge risk. This is a good thing for the industry. But of course, I get it. I understand the sentiment. You don't want AIs developing your games because it's going to take away jobs, and we can't trust companies to actually use the tools properly in good faith. I think what Muse is doing right now is great. We'll see what happens maybe in the future with it. If it develops into this massive monster that's really transformed the industry, who knows where it'll go from there. So I understand those concerns, but it's not a bad thing, guys. Right now, this is something good that's going to be great for consumers. It's going to be great for developers. It's another thing Xbox is pushing forward to make the industry better.
Yep.
And that's been Xbox's goal, and they've done an amazing job to put games first. And Phil even said it himself, that's kind of the goal right there.
I mean, it's a great point of view. I mean, look, one of the things I think that, like literally, should jump off the page for you is game preservation, because they both said it, right? Game preservation. What does that mean to you? Well, if you're an old, well, not everybody's as old as I am, but a lot of us can understand that the way it used to be back in the days is you'd be playing on said box, whether that's a Turbo Graphics, whether that's an N64, whether that's a GameCube or PS1 or PS2, whatever, Dreamcast, pick your flavor. And when you moved into the next generation, right? I kept things plugged in because I'm a gamer, right? That's what I do. But most people took everything and either traded it in to Funko-Land, right? Or EB Games, or now GameStop, if there's any still left, right? Or they took it and they put it in their closet in a box with all the games. And then we went and bought the new box, we plugged it in, and we went, right? Fuzzy, I want to get your hot take on this, man. These are two mammoths in Xbox and Microsoft. I think what they had to say was incredibly impressive. What are your thoughts?
I think based on what they showed, used to be able to do, like a few people even mentioned it in the chat, as far as like the proof of concept kind of thing, instead of spending all the dev time working on something to realize, maybe that idea probably should have been left on the storyboard kind of thing. You can have it kind of spec out something and then go and work towards building that in normal coding. It gives you a rough idea of how things work. I mean, the closest thing I can think of as far as the industry I was in prior was like rapid prototypes. Like before, if you wanted to create, like, let's say you wanted to create an air intake for a car, you would have to do all these measurements, spec it out, build a rough build, and several times before you actually even got it to where it's to market, you've spent thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars and thousands of hours prototyping this. Now with rapid prototypes, you can go in CAD and other graphic programs, make the 3D render, tweak it a few times, do like maybe a like one of those, I forget what they call it now, but it was like not a screen grab, but you're scanning the vehicle with like a 3D scanner, and then you can actually make sure everything fits. Do the rapid prototype out of plastic, not the normal production plastic. Pop it in there. Oh, it fits. Well, maybe we can run some test numbers, not generate too much heat because this isn't the full production stuff, and you're a lot closer to market, and then you can send that to your tooling team and then have it ready. So it saves you usually 6 months to a year in prototyping on a product. So this could do the same for games where the cost is going through the freaking roof, where we see games like Spider-Man was what, 300 mil,
$315 million for that, bro. That was even before that was, and please, I want to just elaborate on that. $315 million for production of the game before you get to advertising.
Yeah,
that's crazy. And Spider-Man 3 is projected to be $425 million, which I think they're going to cut that game in half just based on that.
Yeah, they already talked about doing like 3 parts, so it's like they can almost sell you 3 full games or kind of pseudo full games. Maybe they do it at 50 or 60 instead of 70, but in any event, that was the way that they would have to recoup all of that cost. If you have this to kind of cut down some of that production time, I think, I'm not saying it's going to save hundreds of millions, but it definitely can save enough money to the point where you don't have to see these layoffs immediately after a project, or the amount of layoffs that you would have for ramping up to build these prototypes of these builds and then realize, oh, well, we're going to go in another direction, save that for the cutting floor kind of thing. So this is a good step moving forward, and hopefully they use these tools as additional tools or additive stuff, as opposed to in place thereof, which it doesn't seem like this particular use of AI would be in place of. But I think the other, on the flip side of the coin, this actually makes it even potentially easier if it's a reasonable expense, where an independent developer can have a lot bigger game in comparison to what they would be able to do on their own or with a smaller team, because of these additional tools, making the indie scene even bigger and better than what it is. And we've seen some of the improvements in the indie scene with things like, was it 33 Expedition and quite a few other smaller games that I don't think we would have seen 10, 15 years ago, just based on the scale of what they're able to do. So I look forward to it. But once again, the trust in these companies is at an all-time low because shareholders rule everything, type of deal. But that's a great tool to add to what these dev teams can do. And I like the fact that if it makes gaming easier for the devs, then that makes it easier for us gamers to get more games in hand. Although it screws us up on time and which game to play first. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd much rather have that option or that dilemma of picking which game to play as opposed to hearing about how a game is delayed X amount of years or it's through the roof in costs and now there's 1,000 layoffs or whatever after the fact. So hopefully this is put to good use. Hopefully we see the benefits here sooner rather than later. And, with Satya and Phil, making the statements on how they're committed to gaming and in the ways in which they're committed to gaming and not just, I know a lot of people don't want to hear about the focus on the singular box or how they're moving beyond that type of deal. But I think in the grand scheme of things, we'll have more games to play, more access for gamers in general. And if we can get past the old traditional thoughts of how the market used to work, I think we'll be better forward just in the fact that you'll have more things to choose from, more things to play, more options on what to play them on. And that can't hurt. I mean, I'm benefiting from it with being able to play Xbox games on my Quest, on my Steam Deck, my PC, and my console, or even my phone if I choose. So you can't beat that type of access these days.
Well, I think ultimately what it does is it should solidify why you want to still be an Xbox consumer, right? Not a fan, not a fanboy, not a bot. Why do I want to play on Xbox? Is it because of the achievements, my friends lists, quick resume, the controller? It's all of those things. But the number one thing is Xbox Game Pass. That has become, I've said it from inception, this has become the exclusives. Because, look, we are all watching this unfold, Dread, in real time, where Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo are doing things that they've never done before. Like, I don't think you're going to ever get a Nintendo game on an Xbox. I don't think you're going to get a Nintendo game on a PlayStation. But PlayStation, Xbox, EA, Take-Two, they're all lining up at the door. They're waiting online right now to hand their wares over to PlayStation to Nintendo because of the Switch 2, right? And leading the charge is Xbox. Now, is that weird? Yeah, it is. Is it weird that Forza Horizon 5 is going to go on to PlayStation 5? Is it weird that it's the number one wish list game on PS5? It's freaking crazy, right? Who would have thunk it? But that's the reality that is happening. What I really took away from this particular, well, these two interviews from Phil and from Satya, and I thought that when you read them in full, and I'm going to add both of them to the show notes, so if you want to read them, you by all means, you'll have a better understanding. I don't think that they said things to piggyback off each other. Their ideologies lined up really well about how important it is for Xbox to continue to produce games. More specifically, when you read the Phil article or you watch the interview on Xbox Era, and he says that Xbox Game Pass allows for games that have a start, middle, and end to live, where they didn't want to make every game have microtransactions. And again, you got to understand something. It's very difficult to do what they've done with their three bigs, right? Now, granted, they haven't done it the greatest in recent years with Halo. Halo multiplayer still amazing. But there was a time where there was multiplayer and single player, and they worked in sequence. They worked together. Gears of War, multiplayer, single player, two separate things. They worked great. Forza Horizon, single player, multiplayer, maps, games as a service, the whole lot of them. And they all worked great together. But that's hard to do. Just ask Sony, right? Just look at what Sony has done. So what this does for me, bringing it all the way back around, is why do I choose Xbox? Because not only does it have all those things that I enjoy about the platform, but as a consumer, and I think we sometimes forget that's where we are first, it's giving me the most bang for my buck. And the fact that they are going to continue having gas games like Sea of Thieves and Fallout 76 and everything else that they're doing with Call of Duty and Minecraft and the new ones that they're going to create, they're still going to be delivering single-player, story-driven adult content like South of Midnight, like Avowed, like Fable, and still put out games like Gears, the next Halo, the next Forza that are going to focus on single player but offer multiplayer. They are literally twirling plates from their hands, their toes, and their nose. And they're doing it to great degree. Even though people don't give them the credit for it, they're doing all these things where Sony would wish that they could do all these things, and they can. And Nintendo, they're just going to do what Nintendo does. You got to remember, that Switch hardware that we're playing now, your cell phone from 9 years ago is more powerful than that thing, right? And they're still doing it. They still sold 150 million of those things. That's just Nintendo. That's just what they do. Dredd, let's get your thoughts on both of the interviews with Phil and Satya, and let's get your thoughts on single-player, story-driven content continuing while also still adding value to a service.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. The story part of it, right? They're on the same basis as to what they're trying to tell you, but they've been saying this for years. They want to have more of everything, right? They want a cornucopia of game styles. They don't want just Halo, Gears, and Forza. They don't want that name, and they still want those. Don't get me wrong, but they don't want just the trilogy. Here we go. They want to build up more. They've been saying that for a long time. Even Sarah Bond has been saying that. They've all been doing that. That's why Super Lucky's Tale was a big deal for them at way back when. And everyone's like, "Well, who cares about that? That's a kid's game." I care because that's something that my daughter plays, right? Korkenstein said the same thing, with Mario. My daughter's playing on the Switch. She knows Mario, right? I play Mario. My wife is playing Mario. She's like more of a Mario fanatic than I have been, and same thing with my daughter, and that's the thing. We're forgetting we're the dying generation. We're on the way out. We're not the ones that they have to meet to, right? It's the ones that, Mommy, I want this. Daddy, I want that. Grandpa, I want this, right? So those are the people that they're trying to get into this ecosystem. They're the ones that are trying to get into this, right? And then here's the other part of it. When you associate a game with Sony, right? It's okay. This is Spider-Man is now associated with Sony. It's associated with PlayStation. But Minecraft is associated with Xbox, right? And you start logging into all these games and different platforms, you're associating it with Xbox because you have to log into Xbox. So it's an Xbox game. Xbox is breaking the barrier going into the other places. That's why I said, if Game Pass can go anywhere, I could see it breaking through to Nintendo because their online services suck. In my opinion,
it's terrible. It really is so rinky dink that it's the fact that it even exists and works is like taping, using paper clips and bubble gum to keep it together. It's awful.
And then they make the announcement that you got to use your coins now because pretty soon your coins are going to be worthless. You're not going to be able to. So again, it's like, where is the support for your customer base, right? And I've always said that you're a consumer. Why are you spending money and saying, I'll spend the extra money because I believe in this game, because I want to support those devs, and what about supporting your family? What about putting food on the table? You know, you're going to starve your kid because you would rather pay $70 for a game versus $40 or, I don't know, $20 to have access to everything. Yeah, that's your prerogative. I'm not telling you what to do, but at the same time, don't be telling me what to do,
There
right?
you go.
Because this is worth this. To you, it might be, but not to others. You know, and that's the thing. You know, and now, you know, we're so worried about being somebody's savior. You're going to save the devs by telling them, don't use this AI. AI is bad. Why? Boom, you use CapCut. I know you do. I use it. We use Grok. Oh, that's right. It's AI, right? Are we not using it to do stuff like this? We use it to write scripts. We use Premiere Pro. Are we not
Yep.
using Photoshop? All that shit is AI. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that.
No,
But
that's
all that
that's
is
fine. That's
AI.
fine. Yeah, that's all right.
You know what I'm saying? It's just people forget that this stuff is just a tool, right? I brought it up before. My grandfather hated computers. Why? Because it took jobs away. He was so narrow-minded
Yeah.
that the typewriter was gone. They went to a word processor because why? It was faster, it was more efficient. You still had to have a person there. If you didn't adapt, you lost your job. That's what it
You're
was.
fine. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And if they don't adapt here to do this stuff, this is what's going to happen. You're going to fall back. If you, in any industry, same thing with what Fuzzy was saying earlier. If you don't adapt to figure out how to cut hours and be able to get to a final product faster, that's what's going to happen. You're going to lose your job and be pushed out because you might not have lost your job because your boss may have lost his company.
Yeah.
So everybody lost their job. Okay. People forget that. People forget that there's a bigger thing out there than just one person or two people. And sometimes, and we've already seen it before, some devs talk out their keister, and then you find out once it's been brought up to the attention, oh, you've been in HR several times. So
Yeah.
wait a second, I thought you were supporting the dev. Are you not supporting this guy that's been a SA harasser? Right? Are you?
Great
So
points, dude.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's like people forget that there's more information out there that you don't know, and you're quick to judge, quick judging. Sit back, look at it. The blockchain was a bad thing, right? But no, it's people using tools for evil. Deep fakes, that's AI. Guess what? It's also been used by evil. That's where we have to step up and put them in check and make sure that they use it for its intended purposes. It was supposed to be a way to speed things up for video production. You know, same thing here. They're going to put a game into the system and let AI figure out all the screw ups that we as humans do. And it's going to spit out and say, hey, here's a block that doesn't compute right. I do this with a smart house. I throw it in the AI and I say, hey, I want to do this, this, and this. How come I'm not having problems here? And it shots it out. This part of the script is wrong. Oh,
Wow. That's
okay.
awesome.
So you do stuff like that. That's a tool. It's not inherently evil. People are inherently evil, right? But you got to hold them accountable, but you can't jump all over the place and say, blame this guy, when actually this guy caused all of it and made this guy look bad. Don't do that. Figure out what it is. Make sure you hold them accountable for what they need to be held accountable for. And, you know, again, that computation that happened overnight didn't put anybody out of a job. It sped up everything versus this guy that can't find it because you got thousands of lines. Remember, games used to be megabytes, right? Then in the 360 era, we have the PS3 era, we have games that were roughly about 6 gigs. Some of them a little bit more, some of them, you know,
Terabytes.
most of them a
Yeah.
little bit less, right? So, and now we're into hundreds of gigs. That's a lot of code. That's a lot of information there that you're going to miss. You can't humanly possible. You can't happen, which is why you use tools. AI is a tool. It's just because everybody finds a name and then associates something with it, and then you're going to lose a job. You're losing your job. No, you adapt and you use that as a tool. I use it. I use AI all the time as a tool to help me do stuff better, to help learn, to help
Yep.
fix issues that I
Speed
have.
up the process.
Right. Versus sifting through Reddit, sifting through tech support, no, I can go there. It'll give me my summary, and then I can further deep research a little bit more. I'm not using it as the end all be all. I'm using it for guidance. And that's what all they should be doing too. So, if we can make movies, we can make games. With all this, you still need human interaction. We're not going to have T6000 coming in here stealing your job.
Well, I don't think they'd steal your job. I think they're going to decimate you and your entire family. Hopefully, we do not get a Terminator situation.
You're going to be fully replaced.
Yeah. Well, look. At the end of the day, folks, there is a lot of excitement happening with Xbox. Their first-party roadmap is incredibly deep. 25 is going to levy a bunch of amazing, high-quality AAA games into your service. Sony, who's not being able or has not been able to produce their own AAA games, even though some are in development, are going to get a bunch of those on their console for their players to play and buy, which is great. Nintendo is also going to, get some of those. And at the end of the day, you say, well, who cares about the corporation? Why should I care? I don't care what really happens to Microsoft because I have invested stock, but not as much as I'd like, and not as much as going to buy me my next home, right? So that's not happening. But as a consumer for Xbox, I know that if the games sell on PS5, games sell on Switch, even though I would have never sanctioned this years ago, I'd have been like, no way, I'm not doing that. That's the business now. And how does that equate to me as a consumer? Well, when you hear about Muse, when you hear about Game Pass, when you hear about two of the biggest pieces of the leadership puzzle for Xbox and Microsoft saying and being out front with it, we are going to continue AAA single-player development as well as be the biggest publisher, and we need to do that to maintain the biggest publisher title. That should tell you as an Xbox consumer that you're good, that Xbox has your back. They're going to keep putting games in their service. They're going to keep getting third party and second party and indie games into that service like 33 Immortals and many more. Right? So again, you are eating good as an Xbox player. This has been a great show. Again, I'm going to cut the second topic down a bit so I can put it out there as another video. I have a couple of videos that I'm working on specifically regarding that interview with Phil Spencer. I'm going to be putting that out later on this afternoon. As soon as the show is done, I got to get to working out because I got to get my 4th day in. But that's going to do it for us here today. A big thank you to all the super chats. Let me just catch up on those. We have Will the Insider, Broke Boy Lewis, great friend of the show, has gifted 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership. That is very kind of you, brother. We super appreciate the generosity. And eventually, I will get back to Call of Duty once I'm done with Avowed. Did you see those Ninja Turtles? God damn it. I'm not going to front. I think $80 for 4 skins is egregious, and I'm not going to buy it unless it's on sale. But they look dope, and I want to get in on the ground floor because I want to get Splinter. I want to get some of those Foot Clan skins as well. All you got to do is play. I missed the Terminator one, which sucks, but I did, so, whatever. Tim the Sorcerer, who's been a channel member for a long, whopping 31 months, brother. Thank you so much, Tim. We super appreciate the generosity. He says, hey, Boom, panel and chat. Awesome show. Loving Avowed. And this game's going to have a long breath. It takes place in a great existing universe. Yeah, I think what happened here, besides them putting out a great game, is they now have a Bethesda-sized open world or open hub RPG to build on. And I think that this is going to be a franchise that is going to have sequels, and they may even have some side projects in there. I think people are going to get interested in Pillars 1 and 2. Maybe they make a Pillars 3. Again, not for me, but that is okay. And I think that this could expand to other, sequels and prequels and whatever. I hope that they do, in fact, add DLC to this. And I hope that they take the time to potentially even add like a Miles Morales-sized expansion on the back end of this success, because obviously the Miles Morales game for Insomniac is one of my favorites in the series for a lot of personal reasons because of my upbringing. It equates to a lot that Miles went through, right? With his family, especially. I talked about this all the time. I literally cried looking at his mom's house because it reminded me of my abuela. That was her house. That's what it looked like. So that's why I have such a personal connection to that game. I'm hoping that the success of this game, and it's going to go to PlayStation, and may even go to Nintendo Switch too. If it shows success there, I hope we don't have to wait 3, 4, 5, 6 years for a sequel. I hope they come out with smaller 20-hour, like add-ons. I'd love to see them do that. And that would be dope. Tim, thanks so much for the support, brother. Finally, we have Dave Reezy, our generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat. He says, "Morning, Boom, Fuzzy, Silent, and Cork. Yay, it's Friday." Indeed it is, kind sir. And I'm going to, like I said, as soon as I'm done working out, I'm not even going to front. I ain't doing nothing in this house. I'm going right back to Avowed because now I'm in it. Now I'm in the end game, and I want to see where this thing goes. But let's get everyone out of here. And we'll start first in reverse order. Dreadpool, brother, it's so great to have you here. You're looking great. I'm glad everything is going good with the family. By all means, brother, sell your brand. Let everyone know where they could become a Dreadite, where they can subscribe to your YouTube channel, where they can follow you on social media.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm glad I had some time to stop in. When I saw the Avowed topic pop up, I really wanted to give it my input because I felt like I was more of the outsider of the fans, if you know what I'm saying, not really the casual, but I think on the awareness, obviously I'm not a casual, but on the attention for it, I think I was more on the casual side of that because again, it just didn't interest me. And for the past couple of days, I've been like trying to figure out when I can get back to playing again. You know what I'm saying? So that tells you something. So that's why I wanted to step in especially for that. And I'm glad I stayed on for the rest. Miss you guys, the chat too. You guys are awesome. So again, for you guys that don't know me, I'm Dreadpool. I do YouTube. I do all this stuff. So you see, I have Breaking Bread with Dread, which is my interview stuff. I've got a new channel, Files of Horror, that my wife and I are doing. We've taken all the horror stuff off of Dreadpool and put it on there. If you want to see like
nice
a lot of everything that I always do, it's on the Dreadpool channel on YouTube. So you see me in the chat there. You can just click on my name and go to the channel and sub there. I'm actually just shy of $3,000.
Nice,
and
dude.
Let's see. Let me update it right now.
Yeah, you know what? So throw
2962.
Throw your link in the chat. So you're a few away, folks. If you want good horror that's not Fright Night at Ferocious Feed with Fuzzy and his wife, you can check out Dreadpool because he was obviously one of the founding members of Breakfast with Boom. He's on it for years with us. Great to have him back here today. I will add, of course, all your information to the show notes. So, folks, if you don't sub now and you want to sub later, it's just 2 clicks. Click them to get to YouTube, and then once you're there, hit the subscribe button. And if you're feeling super generous, you hit the bell icon so you know when Dread drops a new content.
So there's your Files of Horror link, and I'll get my personal one up here too in a second.
Nice. Well, brother, it's great to have you back. Great opinions as always, and you're always welcome to jump in. You don't need an invite. You got a key to the front door. You come in anytime you want. But it's great to have you here.
I'll kick it in like I always do.
As you should, sir. As you should. That's what good family members do. They kick down doors. Absolutely. Silent Cypher. Let's sell the brand, brother. Let's talk about the Xbox International podcast, where you and the guys, break down the newest information. I haven't seen Louis in a minute, so we got to find out. Hopefully he's doing well and he's not possessed because, he's been quiet. And usually when he's quiet, that means that painting actually got him, which is terrifying. Sell the brand, brother. Where could people not only subscribe to that? You're no longer on Twitter, but you are on Blue Sky. Talk about that, where people can catch up with you on social media.
Yeah, well, it was a pleasure being with all you guys this morning. Always great to see Dread. Always fun to hang out with him. And of course, Korkenstein and Fuzzy. I'm not forgetting you guys. Don't worry. But no, it was a lot of fun today. As you mentioned, you can catch us on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Xbox International Podcast. I haven't been on there a lot lately. I've been a little absent. We're getting the gang back together this Wednesday. So
Nice.
Bloom, myself, Sour, and Louie will all be there.
Oh, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun. There's been obviously a lot happening, so it'll be a good conversation. Feel free to stop by there. And yeah, Louie's actually got I can't reveal anything, but he's got someone he's going to be hanging out with. I think it's this weekend. He's trying to keep on the hush hush.
Yes,
And
excellent.
so yeah, I'll be curious as to what happens from it, and if they end up having any footage that they film during their shenanigans. But besides that, you can catch us on Fridays on Xbox International in Espanol. You won't catch me because I'm very pasty white and my Espanol is very bad. But you'll catch our brothers on there. So if you're a Spanish speaker, feel free to go by there as well. Obviously, you'll catch me here every other Friday, and you'll catch me tonight on Fright Nights with Ferocious Fee.
Nice.
Hanging out with Fuzzy and Fee and Presto Beaches. Yeah, make sure you stop by us and just say hi. Say hey, kick a subscribe if you like it. If you like horror, obviously, and reach out to Dreads, of course, as well. The movie we did this week is I'm looking forward to hear the comments on this one. But yeah, it should be a good time. So if you want to listen to that, make sure you stop by there as well. We'll drop a link in the chat.
I'll be there
Thank
too.
you.
Tonight.
Excellent. Wow, that's gonna be great.
Sweet.
Excellent. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Shout out to Gamer by Choice, who has gifted one Double Barrel Gaming membership. Salute to you, Gamer by Choice. Appreciate the generosity, and of course, appreciate you always being here to not only hang out with us, but support the channel. We definitely appreciate it. Korkenstein, let's sell the brand, brother. What you got going on? Now, you have multiple podcasts, and some of which have taken a bit of a hiatus, but I want an update because obviously we want to send people over there to subscribe. You do have a very cool and unique podcast where it combines food with Xbox Game Pass, known as Xbox Game Pass. What is it called? Game Pass Gumbo, which of course is, and you've done some really great work with it. I know it's hard to produce because you can't do it live because you're cooking. So obviously you don't want to set the place on fire as you're doing a podcast. That's not good. Brother, sell the brand. Where can people check that out? And more importantly, follow you on social media.
So thank you guys as always. Dread, good to see you back here. Silent as well, Fuzzy, Boom, every Friday. And this past Monday we had some great convo. You guys are always gentlemen, scholars, just legendary. Your community as well, thank you guys. We had some really great conversation there today. For me, Game Pass Gumbo. So our co-host Gold Shell, he actually just did a matcha green tea, I guess like funnel cake, for Ninja Gaiden. We were gonna post it. Yeah, we were gonna post it when we did the Ninja Gaiden episode a while back, or when we talked about the Dev Direct where they announced it and things like that. So, I just posted the link in the chat. That's there for you guys. Really cool video. We just went live with it like 2 minutes ago. So perfect timing. If you guys want, you can also follow me on X or Twitter. I just posted the link as well. But yeah, you'll mostly find all the stuff there that I do on Twitter is where I make most of the announcements. Xbox talks, we're talking. I'm bringing it back soon, hopefully for the Xbox subreddit community.
Nice.
That we're just trying to get all of our schedules aligned. Like I said, with doing so many podcasts and with my work and everything, and their work, it's just hard to find somewhere we can come together and do something. But we are working on some really cool stuff that we just kind of just need to pull the trigger on, essentially, and just kind of just go for it. But be on the lookout. Like I said, you can find me on the Korkenstein on Xbox. I mean on X, Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, all of that.
Awesome. And lastly, and no way leastly, for sure, we have to bring in Fuzzy Belvedere. Again, my co-host on Mondays. I'm already writing Monday's show, as you would imagine. I already sent you some stuff because I'm always working on this show, and I love it, folks. I never get bored of talking about video games. And, Mrs. Boom says it, you could be long-winded. I'm in the best position because I like to talk. It's what made me a really good cop and why I was known as Officer Friendly, because I enjoy being positive. I like being nice and helpful and go lucky. And maybe it's going to be my Achilles heel at some point, but until then, I'm still always going to be who you thought I was. But we got to talk about your content, Fuzzy, because again, if you didn't know, Fuzzy Belvedere trying to get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. We want to help him get there. It's the best place for everything and everything in the racing genre, as well as, of course, selling his wife's brand, which, of course, is Horror. Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard on Friday evenings. They'll be happening in tonight. Brother, tell everyone where they can not only subscribe to both of your YouTube channels, but also follow you guys on social media.
As always, greatly appreciate being on this show with you guys. Always awesome when we have Dreadpool on in the morning. Greatly appreciate your return and look forward to seeing you again tonight with Silent Cypher as well. Love you guys on the Fright Night with Ferocious Fee show. Always love hearing Corkenstein's thoughts on everything gaming as well, and you as well, Boom. For those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on pretty much all social media except for Facebook at Fuzzy_Belvedere, or just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. You'll be able to find me on YouTube, Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter. But like Boom said, and Silent and Dread mentioned, Fright Night with Ferocious Fee tonight, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link will be in the chat. We're going to be talking about a movie called Humane. So think of it as like a self-purge kind of movie in the future kind of thing. Should be an interesting topic tonight. Definitely, if you've seen the movie Humane from 2024, definitely hang out with us. Just do a search for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee or click the link in the chat. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Boom, not Boom. Dreadpool will be there, and Silent Cypher will be there, as well as Presto Beaches, and my wife Ferocious Fee will be there. And hope to see you guys there tonight. But other than that, enjoy gaming, everybody. There's plenty of games to play. Get that subscription renewed if you let it lapse. There's so much to play out there. I don't know if there's enough time, but
Nope.
Definitely get after it and have a good weekend. And always enjoy having the chat here. Thank you guys so much for checking us out. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yeah, I could say there's definitely not a time. Listen, I put it this way, folks. I'm retired, and I don't have enough time to play freaking games. There's just too many games. This year is going to levy a redonkulous amount of games. Pick the one you pick a lane, as the kids like to say, and just go forward, because you can always, that backlog is going to just keep growing, because Game Pass is going to keep going. Nintendo Switch has got it's a new console coming out. Sony's going to get their shit together at some point, and they're going to be dropping bombs like you should expect. And Steam released 19,000 games last year. Good luck if you're on PC. That's it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here on Breakfast with Boom. For Dreadpool, Silent Cypher, Corkenstein, Fuzzy Belvedere, and myself, we want to wish you guys and gals an amazing weekend. Game on whatever console you enjoy gaming on. Have fun. Try and stay positive. Even this world is kind of sucks right now. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my awesome dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.